So, hey everyone, hello Vilnius. I'm really glad to be here on DevGAMM. And my topic today, I will try to share some of our experience as a global company to launch a title, a game in Asian markets and in China especially. So, um, why am I here? Who am I? So, I am a Wargaming veteran. In August, I think there will be 13 years I'm working for the company already, so I've seen a lot before World of Tanks launched a bit. And my title right now is Change Director, so I help the company to accelerate the changes during these turbulent times. However, I've spent for almost 6 years as a publishing director, and previously I was marketing director for World of Tanks. So I've seen quite a lot of entering new markets, launching tanks, launching in different regions, making some kind of promotions, etc., and conquering different markets in the end. So I will try to share my knowledge. And the first question when we choose the region where our game would be operated definitely is why we should go there, right? Does it have enough of players? Does it have enough of money in there? And how difficult is it to enter? And how beneficial for us it will be. So the question, why go east? Definitely first is there are lots of players that are just willing and wishing for your title to be launched in. However, jokes apart, it's a very big region. I will talk in my presentation a bit separately about Asia and China mainland because they have different peculiarities, and I want to speak about those in more details. And I will start with covering Southeast Asia and Central Asia and countries. So the top Asian, right now I will speak without China excluding, and then we'll go to more details about China. So top 10 countries in Asian market are actually, there are big players on the market, like Japan or Korea, and those two countries themselves, as you can see, according to Nico Partners info, they have more than 77 revenue from the region, and they have very well established for quite a time gaming culture and infrastructure. With internet, with good equipment for players, PCs, etc. So they are leaders. However, we have huge countries with enormous populations that are on the development stage right now, and those are Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Philippines, Taiwan, and as you can see, India is the largest by population and has one of the highest growth rate, which actually really higher than the average on the market, as you can see, as well as in Indonesia or Thailand. And the whole market capacity right now is over $35 billion for those markets, and as you can see, there is a solid and steady growth projected for the upcoming 5 years, and even higher growth is in terms of player base. And right now, I'm going to cover a bit more in detail the factors that drive this growth and why this growth potential is in place right now for those countries. So there are different groups of factors, I would call it, and actually we saw it because we released in Asia, I think in 2013, and the infrastructure and ecosystem of gaming and actual internet penetration changed dramatically in those regions. So as you can see that IPAN, internet penetration, just for the last 5 years, it grew immensely, more than about 20 percentage points. And right now, thanks to introduction of 5G, fast internet in the region, it's actually boosts even further, allowing millions and millions of households to get fast and accessible internet connection and not too expensive. And the second biggest problem in the region that we faced was the infrastructure of devices. Like very few households could afford themselves to have a PC for like each member of the apartment. I'm not even speaking about that, but for a household. And that's why a big culture of so-called internet cafes or internet game room, PC Bang, in different countries they have different names. However, it's like internet clubs that people go to for playing games because they don't have internet at home and they don't have proper PC to play the game, so they had to go there and pay for their pastime where they had all the potential games on the market available and they can play online as well. So this is a big like problem how to reach people in their homes. So you had to work with so-called like IGRs, and this also brings you the problem of distribution. I remember when we just entered the like Asian countries, in some of them, like Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia, we had to literally print out dozens of thousands of DVD discs with our game and distribute them through local stores like 7-Eleven or local equivalents, just free of charge, because our game is free, and just to deliver our title with about like 30 GBs at that time, or 40 GBs already, I don't remember exactly, but a lot of content to download which people couldn't afford to, because they didn't have like unlimited internet connections, they paid for gigabytes, and it was definitely very expensive to download such titles. So we printed out, we delivered it, distributed, and it even seemed that it is easier to promote for your game promotion to go door by door and knock in each door like a preacher and say, do you want to hear a word about World of Tanks, our game? So because you also, due to lack of internet and high-speed internet, it was hard to reach people online with online advertisement, etc. So it was very challenging, and definitely it helped us later on when we opened up offices or hubs or cells in each of those countries, and we had some colleagues on the ground and they walked into campuses or iCafes or even some kind of sports bars to organize events and reach people like offline, because it was really hard to reach them online. Also, one of the growth factors right now is cheap smartphones, and this allows actually both to have fast internet, right? You can share the mobile internet to your PC if you want, to a laptop, and also this enables cloud gaming, which was kind of a key to enter such markets with low like machinery, with low device level, right? Because you don't need a very able PC to play the games. However, if you don't have good internet, you cannot play cloud game because it uses internet and it needs good bandwidth, especially when we are talking about PvP online titles where you should be competitive and lags can cost you your winning rate. So here, smartphones, they actually enable both. They enable cloud gaming via internet, and they solve the problem of the devices, of the expensive PCs at home. And when the internet penetrated more and more, it was very beneficial for streamings, for bloggers, for YouTubers, for local influencers to grow, because people got access to watching streams and videos. They didn't have this access beforehand. And right now it's just flourishing and bursting, and more players in Southeast Asia, they dive into esports, into streaming, into blogging, and this is also a platform which will help you to reach the audience, because the prices are not as high as we expect, and for example in USA, in Europe, but you can reach out to tens or dozens of these gaming bloggers with their own communities, so they can promote your titles. So all of these factors, they right now invest in the future of Southeast Asia developing region, and I think it's very good timing, if not yet, to go in there. Okay, so now I will jump to some essential pillars. I know that some of them, they are like universal applicable when you want to enter any kind of market over the world, but some of them have some peculiarities if we speak about Asian countries. So first, when you're preparing your title to enter the market, definitely you want to have a proper localization of the game. And here I'm not talking only about translation, because localization is much wider term. It's not only translating words in your game client into other language. Here I have kind of a story. When we entered, I think we launched in Korea in 2013, maybe beginning 2014. So when we launched there, we actually launched in a number of countries at the same time, very fast, very rapidly. Through 1 year, I think we entered like more than a dozen and a half countries. So at that time, we did translation and localization, as we thought at the time, of our game at very high pace and very rapidly to numerous of languages. I think at the time, our game was translated already to about 30 languages, like 27 plus. So a big work to do. We have a big client, big game, and however, we just translated, and since in Asia there are lots of countries with different languages and very local languages which are not spoken widely outside of the region, there were no enough partners that could provide very good quality of translation to those languages in combination with knowledge of gaming industry or your game exactly. So we had a lot of funny or maybe sometimes not so funny stories when the guys, it was like just Google Translate your game right now, right? At that time there was no Google Translate yet, like in this scale. However, it looked like some kind of prompt translation. So we, in some country, I remember we have our game title is World of Tanks, and English word tank goes both for a tank or a big reservoir or cistern, and it was translated incorrectly as a cistern in this language, and the game called World of Cisterns, and we had a lot of memes about that when players showed freight trains with the cisterns and the barrels of a tank, etc. So it's some kind of funny, but most cases it's not funny, because you have a lot of terminology in the game, especially in a lot of history, a lot of equipment terminology, and this could be completely wasting and ruining the experience of the players. And from the other side, it could lead even to some troubles with government or something like that. So with Korea, I remember that we had to redo completely the translation of our game, because we had a huge outburst on the gaming community of World of Tanks, because they showed us, they created a lot of support tickets and showed that the translation, you cannot understand what it just means, because the quality is was very poor. So what did we at that time? We created I remember, because I was leading this. We created 27 groups with players from the community. So we went out to forums and had announcement. Hey guys, we need the help of to translate our game properly. and we are like hiring the guys with some kind of linguistic experience who know our game. So we created, like, in each country there were like several people who applied, and we were like not hiring them, not paying them real money, but they were getting in-game goods, etc., etc. So they were like moderators. And all that groups, they proofread everything, all the text we had translated, and it was like very huge work done for them. We spent like, I don't know, half a year, I think, to review everything and to re-upload all the translations. But from that time, it was like a proper, and right now we have all of the proofreads and all the terms and terminology, which like part gaming, part like tank related, is up to the point. So that's a very important brick in the basis of your game launch. And sure, there are cultural localization, right? You should do your homework. You should learn like the history and the culture of the market where are you heading. And for example, like in my next example, we technically didn't do anything wrong completely, but the consequences wasn't very good. So in our game, when we were launching World of Warships, we used actual historical accurate Japanese flag of the rising sun, which is even right now is flag of Japan fleet. So, but in Korea, in many other countries, because they have a huge history in between together, and sometimes don't treat each other in a good way. However, anyway, right now in Korea, this flag is really associated with Japanese imperialism, invasions, etc. During past time, and it's not banned like swastika, for example, right? But illegally, so we could use it technically. But it was culturally so big shock for a lot of Korean media, Korean players, and a big insult. So we even had approached by government. So we definitely changed it very fast, as soon as possible, and apologized like a million times before players, with media, with government, etc. But it could even lead for the game to be banned out of the country. So this could have very huge consequences if you don't do your homework properly, or at least be prepared to act quickly to fix your mistakes. Okay, so also about the regulations, it's a very big part, and I will touch it even more when I will speak about Chinese market. Regulations can bring your title and you as publisher down in some regions. My example here as well is connected to some oversight of ours. I think it was 2014 where we saw our conversions of acquisition of new players dropped like almost 90%. And it was like big shock for us. However, we found out that a new regulation was out in Korea that right now everyone from now on must use their personal ID, their passport, to register in an online game. And we were completely unprepared for that. And we spent, I think, about a year, 6 to 12 months, to get the conversion rate, to optimize the registration flow in such a way so it's not even close to the level before, however, was at least acceptable. And if we were on the track with the government, with officials, and we were tracking what's going on there in the this sphere, I think we could have been much more prepared and haven't lose so much resources and time. So, which is a big heads up for us for upcoming years. So when you have everything done with your homework here, with localization, translation, culture references, etc., so you want to have your services up and running, and you start with checking the distribution. I know that right now, most of the titles, yes, they're distributed via platforms who are already there, like Steam, apps, or app stores, or, for example, console platforms, Xbox, PlayStation. However, if you're a self-published game, you definitely want big chunks of data to be in optimized manner transferred to the players from your data centers. So definitely you should check the traffic routes and traffic hubs to make sure that your servers are in right position for this region and it goes in a proper optimized way. And for example, we have a very interesting example here because we treat Asia as Asia Pacific. It includes ANZ, Australia and New Zealand. And from time to time, I think 2 times, like 3 times per year, our connection to Australia completely dropped to almost 0. And it was like for nothing. We didn't understand why, and spent some months to reestablish it. And we found out that it's because sharks, they bite the cables on the bottom of the ocean. When we were told this for the first time, we didn't have cameras out there at the time, etc. When we were told that potentially shark bite the cable, because it could be diversion, it could be whatever, but cable was damaged, and it should be sharks. We just laughed at it because sharks, come on, why do they bite the cable? Come on. But then several years after, we just got the video and image how it does it. So yeah, we had to establish our servers directly in Australia to make sure that players in such conditions, they will be able to play the game. Definitely it would be hard to deliver updates, but at least they will keep the game online. Yeah, that's how could happen. So you should check the technical infrastructure. And definitely the payments as well, you need to know. Yeah, right now, many things are managed by platforms. However, you can have also your own store on the web or in the app. And the payment partners, you need to know the local payment, because in some regions, real big blockers for players is just they cannot pay. We faced it both in Latin America, we faced it in Asia as well, where in some regions they use prepared cards that they buy in stores, just offline stores, or they pay with their cell phone from their balance on the cell phone operator or something like that. So there could be some weird. And most of the regions, they have different coverage of cards, of online payment instruments, mobile bankings, etc. So you should understand what is the infrastructure of payment systems in the region to optimize that for them as well. Because you can do a lot of promotion as well together with payment partners, etc., which will boost not only your income directly from the players who already play your game, but also it will be a trust source as well for your title in the region. And last but not the least, you should understand how you will support your game and how it will be organized. Will it be in-house support? Will it be outsourced? Will it be some local company, etc.? Because the mixture depends on your title, on the way how you treat your community and working with that. Because we tried in Wargaming, we tried all of possible solutions from time to time. We worked and still working a lot with outsource, different quality and different approaches are there. We have our in-house team, which we understood we should have, because in terms of optimization and efficiency, definitely you see, okay, these outsource partners, they are cheaper on the paper, right? But then you understand that, for example, you can spend half of a year just training your outsource agents on the partner side, what is your game about, and just to answer better than ChatGPT does right now. And then your guys from your in-house team, they spend half of their working day just consulting the outsourced partners on their answers. So it could be not very efficient, so you just should have a reminder about that. And promotion, when you have everything ready, you're entering the market, you preparing the promotion, and it includes like everything from PR, marketing, brand activities, events on the ground, media communication, etc. So I have several examples of partnerships and licenses that we used. I will show them a bit later. And just to remind that internet game rooms are still big thing, a bit down after COVID, but still in some regions they stay as a big force of promotion of your titles because they have, for example, I don't know, 48,000 of internet game room in Korea right now, for example. So it's a big promotional platform. So first off, I want to share some words about our cooperation with anime. Definitely, you're going to Japan. Anime is the best partner for you. It was a perfect match since this anime came, I think, 2014-15, when we entered, like a few years later, and it was about girls and tanks. Like, what can be better for World of Tanks? Come on. But at that time, we thought, and our audience image outside of Asia was that the game is for adults, for male audience, which are like 30-35 years old, and they are very conservative, they don't like anime, they don't know what's about, so let's keep this promotion and all this collaboration only inside Japan. When we launched it in Japan, we understood that it's really have high appraisal across all the Asia, and Asian players asked us to do something in game with Ghost and Panzer, and we understood, okay, we can scale it to Asia, but no, we don't bring it to Europe, we don't bring it to NA, and God's sake, no to CIS, because they will just burn us, because, come on, we're adult grown people, and you're bringing us some kind of Ghost and painted in red tanks. So that's how we thought. So we launched it in whole Asian region, and what do you expect? Like a huge wave of requests from Europe, from North America. Hey guys, why they have this cute little girls on tanks and we don't? Are you treating us like bad? And we just, no, we thought you won't like it. So let's us decide what we like, what we don't. So then I think in 2018 only, like 4 years after this started, we used it to full scale and released in-game event already for global audience, and it got really big success. So we are still continuing to cooperate with Ghost and Panzer and make it for a global audience. So the things you learn, and also you should understand that the web in Japan, in Asia, could be slightly different from what you expect and what you got used to in the West. So, yeah, it's like actual game pages. They could seem all over the place, they could seem outdated, but the guys, they got used to it a lot. And you should think about customizing your web resources, web pages, rec forms, landing pages, or portals, whatever, to learn their experience, to see how audience right now using the web, and you can customize and localize your web to have better conversions. Actually, it works. It doesn't seem like those pages have at least understandable layout to know where to click, but still it works. The China actually is the same. It's very, very overcrowded, overloaded with info, and you should have all the info on one page. Yep. Okay. Let's go to China market, and I will talk about more in detail. So the China market in itself is even bigger than the whole Asian market combined at this moment. So according to China Gaming Industry Report, right now they have over 1 billion internet users with 52% male, 48% female rate. And the gaming population is just immense, like over 720 million. Come on, it's like just over the top. And the gaming market is $45 billion. It overpassed, I think, last year's amount, and now it's even bigger. And you can see internet penetration as well, because in China, it was a very big problem as well when I remember we launched there like 2011, first time. I will talk about that a bit later. So it was a big problem, and only first tier cities like Beijing or Shanghai, Guangzhou, they like were able to provide very good connection penetration. However, it was like 56% in 2017, and right now it's 73 and counting. And as you can see, the market is dominant by mobile platform, which is good news for guys who are developing for mobile. However, those 20% of PC market, and that actually keeps growing, 20% is a big chunk of this 45 billion. And the rest of the platforms, they almost no exist there. However, you can try. Here are some numbers in detail comparing mobile and PC markets. So you can see that almost double size, and it's according to Nika partners, they have a bit different numbers comparing to the official Chinese institution report, which means like mobile market is dominating, and it's a bit squeezing. Even you see that PC gamers amount a bit squeezed. Expected for 2023. However, let's talk about the factors of growth and inhibitors a bit later. So a bit of a profile of demographics of Chinese players. So out of this immense 720 million, so you can see that a lot of gamers, like 80%, they watch live streaming. So streaming of the game means it's not like Netflix or something. Live streaming of the game. So it's a huge dedication to gaming. And you can see that these numbers here, they show that like immense penetration of gaming are in all internet users base. So they love games, they play games, they watch like their own video platforms of streaming. About games, they love esports. A lot of gamers are female. Actually, it's very big, a share of female gaming. So it's a bit of an insight. And what I also love to see here is that city tires of 3 and 5, they have a lot of like game revenue right now and spreading to capture the share, because many cities, they grow and they compete with Beijing, with Shanghai, and with internet penetration growing across the country, you get access to more and more new players. And as you can see, they're very dedicated. And the online behavior, so they prefer to watch films online, to shop online, to do everything online, rather than going out. I think maybe COVID even boosted this tradition. So here we can see to the left that yes, mobile market is squeezing the juices out of PC games, converting its players to mobile religion. And I will speak a bit about the inhibitors on the next slide. However, we see here that PC games revenue has a spikes. It's release of big game titles or adaptation, even they have mobile titles adapted to PC, so it's a bit vice versa than we have usually. Like we have PC title and then it could be ported to mobile or something like that. We had it in World of Tanks as well. However, there we see even otherwise tendency. So it spikes, it's not dead, it has its good moments. So what are the main inhibitors that prevent market from PC market from growth? So first, for both markets, rising development and marketing costs in China right now is a big deal, and it prevents companies from going and doing more risks to invent new types of games, etc. So they're being much more cautious, and that means that you, when you want to go inside the Chinese market, also will spend much more for promotion per user, etc. So COVID impact iCafes. China also had, like, I think hundreds of thousands of iCafes due to the same reasons: internet penetration, low device base, etc. However, in China, actually, you remember the very big restrictions that they had during COVID era. So they closed temporarily all of the iCafes at that moment, and like big share of them just died out during this period because they had different waves. So the market will never bounce to where it was. And right now, I think we're on the verge of some changes in this sphere. And strict policies about the government, which I will cover more here. So entering China, the Great Wall is not just a landscape sightseeing here. It's a metaphor for not only physical wall around the China, but also digital. So you should remember that you just cannot go in there and publish your title because of the government, and they should approve your game. They should check it, and they should issue a licensing number, so-called ISBN number, to your title to be in there. But you cannot obtain it yourself. You need to work with a partner. There is some schemes where you can establish a Chinese entity on the ground, where you can have Chinese shareholders of this entity on the ground, like Ubisoft uses Gameloft, I think, this scheme right now. But it means that you have like plans for decades for this market, and you have plans for releasing like dozens of gaming titles through this time. And it also applies some additional risks, so it's not very popular scheme. I will not touch a lot of it right now. I will go and tell you about our experience with a partner. So first off, you are having agreement with the partners, and the partner applies for ISBN number for governmental approval. It takes about 6 to 12 months, to my experience, to my knowledge, to get it. And voila, you're on China's market. Easy, right? No. So let's go step by step. Now, actually, a few words about the partners. Yes, there are like big and small. There are dozens of publishers that publish foreign titles, and there are pros and cons for working with big company or with small company. So big companies, definitely, they have huge manpower. They have big teams. They have a lot of titles and their own audience. In some cases, such as like Tencent, for example, they have even like their own media, like WeChat or whatsoever. And they can promote your game directly to their users, which is considered to be cheaper, but in some ways it could prove not to be. However, it depends. So they have this big firepower. On the other side, you are just a title for them. They have hundreds of titles. They have internal competition, internal market. And if your title doesn't have the metrics that are above some benchmarks, inside benchmarks, they just put you in some kind of shelter and you just die in there. So because they don't want to invest, they have internal benchmarks, they don't want to care about your game if it doesn't show their best practices metrics. So there are some benefits in going with smaller partner, which will just pray for your game because it's like, I don't know, one of the 10 games that they publish, and they will have dedicated resources and online chat with you all the time, etc., etc., very good feedback, but they don't have their own like pipe of traffic that's of their own audience that they just can plug in and put through your game. So here is one big bummer of entering the market. So as you can see, the dynamic of issuing these approvals by national officials is declining like super fast till 2022. So it actually started, it wasn't big at 2018, but it started to decline when the government, they recognized gaming as a big threat to their minority, to their minors under 18, to their kids, and they started to fight game publishers and started to work on the legislation base, how to prevent, oh my god, 10 minutes, oh my god. Okay, how to prevent minors from playing the games as an addiction. And they closed the gates. You know this meme, close the gate, open the gate. So in 2018, they closed the gates and started to approve less and less titles while they were working on this legislation. It went out partially, and then in 2000, I think 21 or 20, it got this final resolution, which after which all games should have minor protection. So I will talk about minors a bit further. However, in 2022, they recognized that the results of their protection of the minor are good because the number of minor players declined drastically, and they are now reopening the gates. So it's a very good time right now, very good opportunity to squeeze in this publishing approval window. So I will talk about how does this process look like. So. Okay, I have it here. So first off, how it looks like. Your partner applies, then the government have your build of the game. They review it thoroughly, like for several months. Like they go deep. They not like just launch it and pass the tutorials. They go very deep in different systems, and they provide you with huge ton of feedback. Like, I don't know, it could be 20, 50 pages of feedback of what you should change in your game to their opinion. And actually the criteria is very vague. So there is no exact things that like written, this is yes, this is no. There are some, but there are thousands of more things that could be not going through the approval, and you will have to change it. And sometimes you can, depending on your publisher partner inside the country, sometimes you can communicate and discuss with government, is it maybe we should do partially, we should do that way, etc. So sometimes it works. So you do these changes, you apply again, they watch, they look through your build, and they, okay, you made these changes, we are approving this, you get the ISBN, and only then you can start your game running on the market. So what are the requests? First of all, there is a GDPR equivalent, like people called people in China. It should be observed. It's a bit different from European equivalent or North American, so pay attention that it should be observed. Either you will not even submit your build. Healthy advice window should be when the player starts the game, telling that he shouldn't spend a lot of time gaming and go out on street and walk, etc., etc. Display copyright ISBN number, privacy policy, terms of service, also these documents, which usually online game have, they all will be reviewed, and also will be comments on what you should change in your TOS or privacy policy documents. Then, content-wise, you should like there is a big list of actual things that are prohibited, but some there on a vague, on a gray zone. Also, it will depend on how your partner will communicate with governmental institutions, etc. Basically, no sensitive historical content that somehow puts the history of China or other countries in different ways that it happened. No real historical elements like flags, country heraldic. So we have like 14 nations in our game of tanks, and we had to reimagine and completely create a new flag for each nation, which is not real, but resembling the nation somehow. So you will have to work with that. Religious activities, zombies, ghosts, vampires, cults, etc. are prohibited. And extreme violence, corpses, skeletons, mass destruction, blood also are prohibited. Gambling is prohibited, slot machines as well, and some morality issues, which is also very wide and vague term. You will find it yourself when you apply your build in there. But definitely you can discuss it with your partner because they should have a lot of experience approving the games. Loot boxes as a part, considered as a part of gambling. You cannot sell for real or virtual currency loot boxes. Does it mean you won't have loot boxes in the game? No. You just sell somehow greeting card for a player, and as a gift, he has a loot box. So it is OK for government, and everyone has loot boxes inside China in this way. You just gift the loot box as a present, selling some kind of, any kind of thing, token or whatsoever. Content in loot boxes should be acquirable via in-game activities. Maybe not today, but for example, you are providing government that in 6 months or 12 months, you will have the content you have right now in the loot box acquirable through game event or whatever by playing a game. So will it happen or not? It depends, but still you should think about the way how you will distribute this content. Odds should be displayed clearly to each type of content in the loot box. So you should write, this tank chance to drop out of loot box is like 10% or 1%. And they should be displayed both in-game and on the web page and constantly available. There are some tricks that you have to do these 4 types of content. For example, you have 15 different tanks, and they have different drop rates. You just combine drop rates, and it has like 15% of like chance for a tank, any tank. But inside, one tank drops like 5%, one 0.00001%. So you can combine it as a categories, not to be really clearly presented to the audience if you don't want. So there are tricks, however, it's possible. And just keep in mind that if you distribute and disclose your odds on China, all players around the world also will get this information. So be prepared. And the results of the loot box actually drawn from your server should be publicly stated on the website for audience to know that you are not bullshitting them with the odds you have on the list. Okay, so there are daily limits of loot boxes. Actually, the ceiling is 50. You cannot exceed 50 loot boxes per person, but there are some also loopholes inside how you should bundle them, but not over 50, and there should be guaranteed reward. When you say that this price is 1%, it should drop out of 100 loot boxes, right? So if player opened 99% and didn't get this 1%, he got unlucky. On the 100 loot box, it should contain this reward. So that's it. Okay, and some social requests. Also, chat filters is a big deal because censorship and all of that stuff. It's a live topic. They update child filters words that you should include, like almost monthly. So you, in every update, you are planning to introduce new chat filter words that could not be typed in the chat. No swear words in nicknames, clans, etc., etc. Shutdown of chats for some occasions. Maybe there are elections, for example, there at that time, and there is a like shutdown policy of quiet for 2 days before elections. Games are considered as media platforms as well. So candidates could be agitated inside the games, so you should shut down your chats as well for this period. So we had such request. In-game elements or map editors used to express banned elements as well. So you cannot like maybe shut down all your map editor or whatsoever, but you should understand that user-generated content is strictly observed, and you could be like asked by government to close parts of it or delete or ban players or whatsoever. Okay, so minors, really quickly. Minors under 18 years old, a person under 18, 1 hour a day, only from 8 to 9 p.m., only 3 days a week, Friday, week, and weekend days and public holidays. So only 3 hours per week from 8 to 9 p.m. people under 18 are able to log in into game. And minor audience dropped from 122 million to 87 million in 2022. So yeah, it's effective and it continues to decline. But they opened the gate again. So challenges with Chinese audience, I think it's one of the last slides. So cheats and mods, everybody is using cheats, everybody is using cheat modes. There are businesses that strive on this. So be prepared that you have proper anti-cheat system. you have calculations on server if you're an online game, etc. And there are tons of modifications and like even like businesses who do these modifications for a wide range of games. So be prepared, they will try to use it. Bot farms, also huge business. They have very intellectual, very smart bots that have behavior much more advanced rather than we had experience in CIS, in West, in America, etc. And they constantly adjusting them to your games. They try to understand the patterns, how you detect bots and ban players and why. And they're trying to win this war. So it's a big business. So we have, like every month, I think we have several thousands of players banned for bot usage. DDoS attacks, it's universal, you meet them there. But in China, you could imagine that, okay, the internet is closed, everything is controlled by government, nobody will attack our games, right? No, you will have huge DDoS. Even bigger than outside of China. Player petitions, every player, if he is very disappointed, can go and write a petition to government, and they will come to you and ask why this happened. So be prepared, big community outbursts, they could create a lot of those. So first, be transparent with players, why are you doing this? If you are wrong, go apologize officially, like on the website or on the video, etc., and say that you will correct and compensate and blah, blah, blah. It's the actions you should do as a publisher, so government will see your good intentions. And have these answers to government officials if they come. And game mechanics abuse, I have an example. I think I will not give it here. It's kind of long one. I have, I think, all my time left. They will abuse all the game mechanics in game design sense that you have. All the loopholes will be found, like instant, and they will abuse it to maximum. Opportunities, like huge game base, even like if your very favorite game of one small Chinese village, it's millions of players. Dedicated players, even legacy games, lots of legacy games, 20 years, 15 years plus, etc., and with huge player bases, with huge revenues. So if you are published everywhere but the China, and you, okay, my game is 6 years old, why should I go there? It's not like new. Players in China, they know the games outside, they want it to be published in there, so go and try. Cultural, historical beats, they really like when you do this homework about their culture and when you understand and provide some content or game activities to their even smaller beats, not like Loom, not only like Chinese New Year, but also they have some Dragon Boat Festival, etc. Smaller events, but really vastly known in the country. If you pay attention, they do very huge activity out of that and really big sayings. Sports, like crazy sports in China, very big industry, huge leverage for promotion. High paycheck, Chinese players are really on the top list of our check per user globally, so they know how to pay. They understand, and it's their habit to pay for games. And they do it in very big amounts if you provide them with proper amount of content. And scale LiveOps approach over Asia. So in our experience, Asian region was smaller than Western regions. So it lacked of attention a lot of time. But when we released in China, we could scale our practices and content we made for China across the Asia. And it actually had a very big benefit. And countries around the Asia, they also understood that we like care for them and love for them. So it's content that you can use all over the Asia mostly. Not every case, but it's a possibility. So summary, do your homework, proper localization, attuned promotion, go on the ground. Actually, it helps. Go on the ground. If you're working with partner in China, go and spend several weeks with them. It will save you years of paperwork, of emails, bouncing back and forth. You will become best friends, and you will understand how they think, how they work, what they do, and they will understand. Because lots of tension, lots of just ignoring each other could happen if you are not met personally with Chinese partners or on the ground in other, like Japan, Korea, is also immensely needed. Care for your players and respect the rules, because if you don't respect the rules in China, for example, you will be kicked out of the country and banned forever, maybe as a publisher, not only with a title. So respect the rules. And thank you. Let's connect. vacancies, and Malik Hadin here. Thank you so much. Whew.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing your experience. I think we have time for one, maybe two questions. Yeah, who will be the first?
Thank you. I really appreciate the speech.
Thanks.
Like it a lot. I have two questions actually. My first one is, did you have any issues in China, like similar to the one you described in Korea? And in terms of different marketing channels in China specifically, like which one was the most effective one when it comes to, spending versus the outcome, like user acquisition wise? Thank you.
Thanks. So first part, yes, we did. We did even bigger issues. However, most of them were not out to the players yet. They were stopped either by government or by our partner because they have a lot of experience. Yes, we had some outbursts with petitions. I don't remember what was exactly. It was because we updated our game and we had the second release. So we released first in 2011 with one partner, then we divorced with it, and re-released in 2019, 2020, somewhere there, with another partner. And for, I think, 3 years, the game wasn't updated, and then it got updates for 3 years at once. A lot of content changed, a lot of content were replaced by other content on players' accounts. Some of them got angry, they tried to petition us, etc. So, but we compensated. We were actually very frank in our communication, trying to show them that the benefits are much better than the things they use. But yes, be prepared that some things you do will easily come to government by players. You don't even have to worry about players' outburst because it will be everywhere. And second, about the channels, it's actually an ongoing process. IGR is a very big channel, but I consider it not too effective in terms of acquisition day-to-day, but more in terms of retention, in terms of brand awareness. First. Second, Chinese partners really like to do branding, to do offline events, to do big celebrity partnerships, to do esports, online, offline, big esports in big arenas, etc., etc. I consider those also most for branding, not for user acquisition. But Chinese partners try to persuade you that it's for user acquisition as well, but it doesn't work. But if you are releasing in the country, it will help a lot to spread, boost awareness, to show that you are serious about your intentions, etc. In terms of user acquisition, the best channels for us are video and influencers right now, plus their search engines and platforms, especially like for mobile titles, it's chats, WeChat, etc. So it's very, very huge thing. Thank you.
One last question. Yeah. Okay.
Hello, thank you for presentation. And as a person who personally took a part in relaunch of World of Tanks in China, just if you're allowed to speak about it, you mentioned before about typical players in Europe and CIS and so on, that they are very matured, 30, 35 years old and so on. What is the portrait of typical player in China of World of Tanks?
So first off, there are a bit more of female players, like several percentage points. I think in Europe and in the US we have about 2%. In China it's about 4.5%, something like that. Like 2 times more, but still not a big population. We actually didn't have much minors, and we were not affected by this minor shutdown like policy. Our players are younger than in Europe and North America, much younger. In NA we have 50 years average audience age, 50, come on. So in Europe it's like 27, 35, something like that. In China it's more like 22, 28, something like that. What interesting else? I cannot remember. Just they're very dedicated. So they played our game 3 years without any update, without single update. knowing that all of the updates around the world users are getting and the game is progressing, but in China it just stapled, and with such a saturated big market, they stayed with the game. So they're very dedicated. If they started to do something, they will do it to the end.
Thank you very much. It was a great speech. So if you have more questions, please don't hesitate.